The sun was setting on another ordinary day in my life, casting a warm golden glow that masked the turmoil brewing within. I often found solace in the bottom of a glass, believing that a drink or two could wash away the stresses of daily life. It started innocently enough, happy hours with friends, celebrations, and the occasional toast to life's little victories. I was the life of the party, always ready with a joke or a story, my laughter echoing through crowded rooms. But as the months turned into years, what once felt like a harmless indulgence morphed into something darker, something that began to consume me. I remember the first time I realized I had crossed an invisible line. It was a typical Friday evening, and I had promised myself that I would only have one drink. But as the night wore on, my resolve crumbled under the weight of temptation. One drink turned into two, then three, and before I knew it, I was stumbling home in the early hours of the morning, the world spinning around me. The thrill of that night faded quickly, replaced by a gnawing sense of shame and regret. Yet, instead of learning from that experience, I chose to ignore it, convincing myself that it was just a one-off mistake. As time passed, my relationship with alcohol deepened into a toxic affair. I began to isolate myself from friends and family, preferring the company of my bottle over genuine connections. The laughter that once filled my home was replaced by silence and solitude. My work suffered, deadlines were missed, and my performance dwindled as I prioritized my next drink over responsibilities. The vibrant colors of my life dulled into shades of gray as I spiraled deeper into this abyss. Friends expressed concern. They noticed the changes in me, the way my eyes lost their spark and how my laughter became less frequent. They would gently suggest alternatives. Why not join us for a hike instead? Or let's try that new cafe. But each suggestion felt like an attack on my way of coping with life's pressures. I dismissed their worries with half-hearted reassurances and hollow promises to cut back. Deep down, though, I knew they were right. I was losing myself to this addiction. Then came the night that changed everything. A night etched into my memory with vivid clarity. After a particularly grueling week at work filled with stress and anxiety, I decided to drown my sorrows in alcohol once again. What started as an attempt to unwind quickly spiraled out of control. I drank more than usual. It was as if the liquid courage coursing through my veins had unleashed a reckless abandon within me. In a moment of poor judgment, I got behind the wheel, an act that would haunt me forever. The accident happened in an instant. One moment I was driving down familiar streets, and the next, everything went black. When consciousness returned, I found myself enveloped in darkness, an oppressive weight pressing down on me as if the universe itself had conspired to pull me into its depths. Panic surged through me as I struggled to comprehend what had happened. The sharp pain radiating from my chest felt like a warning bell tolling for me alone. In that suffocating darkness, fear morphed into something more profound, a confrontation with my own choices and their consequences. As shadows danced around me, figures emerged from the void, shapeless forms that seemed to embody every regret and every moment of weakness in my life. They whispered accusations that echoed in my mind. "You chose this path," they taunted. "You let your demons take control." Each word cut deeper than any physical pain could. I fought against these shadows, desperate to escape their grasp. But as much as I resisted their presence, there was an undeniable truth hidden within their accusations, a truth I had long buried beneath layers of denial and self-deception. My addiction had not only jeopardized my own life, it had fractured relationships with those who cared about me most. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. Every drink had pulled me further away from love and connection. Just when despair threatened to consume me entirely, a flicker of light pierced through the darkness, a gentle glow that felt both foreign and familiar. As it approached, the oppressive weight began to lift. Warmth enveloped me like an embrace from an old friend. This figure radiated compassion and understanding. There was no judgment in its presence, only love. Even in your darkest moments, it spoke softly yet firmly, "You are worthy of love." Those words resonated deep within me, igniting a spark of hope amidst the chaos swirling around us. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I began to see glimpses of who I truly was beneath the layers of addiction and shame, a person capable of change. As this realization washed over me like a cleansing tide, I felt an overwhelming urge to fight back against the darkness that had held me captive for so long. It became clear that this experience was not just about confronting death but about reclaiming my life, a chance to rise from the ashes of self-destruction and rebuild something beautiful from the wreckage. With newfound determination coursing through my veins, I began to envision a future free from chains of addiction, a future where laughter echoed again in my home and where connections with loved ones could flourish once more. But first, I needed to confront the reality waiting for me beyond this experience. It was time to face not only myself but also those whom I had hurt along this tumultuous journey. In that moment suspended between life and death, clarity emerged amid confusion. A promise whispered softly in my heart, "You can change." And so began my journey toward redemption, a path fraught with challenges but illuminated by hope and possibility for a brighter tomorrow. As I drifted deeper into the void, the initial warmth of the light faded, replaced by an oppressive darkness that seemed to close in around me like a heavy shroud. The air grew thick and suffocating, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. It was as if the universe itself conspired to draw me into its depths, where shadows danced and whispered secrets of despair. I could feel them lurking just beyond my vision, figures that flickered in and out of existence, embodying my deepest fears and regrets. These shadows were not mere figments of my imagination. They were manifestations of everything I had tried to bury beneath layers of denial. I recognized them instantly, each one a reminder of choices made and paths taken that had led me to this moment. There was the shadow of my past self, a version of me that had once been vibrant and full of life but had slowly dimmed under the weight of addiction. Another figure loomed large, representing the friends I had pushed away, their faces twisted in expressions of disappointment and sorrow. They reached out to me with ghostly hands, but their touch was cold and unyielding, a stark reminder of the connections I had severed. Just as I began to grapple with these haunting figures, a new presence emerged from the darkness, a figure so imposing that it eclipsed everything else around me. It was a demon, its form shifting and writhing like smoke caught in a tempest. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, piercing through the shadows and locking onto mine with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. This was not just any demon, it was the embodiment of my vices, the very essence of my addiction personified. "Welcome," it hissed, its voice a low growl that reverberated through the void like thunder. "You've summoned me with your choices, your desires, your weaknesses." Each word dripped with disdain, echoing the truth I had long tried to ignore. The demon stepped closer, its presence suffocating as it loomed over me like a dark cloud ready to unleash a storm. "You think you can escape me? You think you can hide from what you've become?" I felt an instinctive urge to recoil from its proximity, but there was nowhere to go. The darkness surrounded me completely. The demon began to unveil the consequences of my actions, each revelation striking like a dagger to my heart. "You've traded your happiness for fleeting moments of pleasure," it taunted. "Every drink has pulled you further into this abyss. You've sacrificed relationships for your poison." With each accusation, I felt the weight of guilt settle heavily upon my chest. Images flashed before me, memories I had tried desperately to forget, friends turning away in disappointment, family members crying because they felt powerless to help, moments when I chose alcohol over love and connection. The demon reveled in this torment, feeding off my pain as it painted a vivid picture of what I had lost. "Look at what you've done," it sneered. "You are alone now because you pushed everyone away." In that moment, anger surged within me, a fierce rebellion against this creature that sought to define my existence through shame and regret. "No!" I shouted into the darkness, my voice echoing back at me like a defiant challenge against fate itself. "I am more than this. I can change." But even as those words left my lips, doubt crept in like a thief in the night, whispering that perhaps the demon was right, that maybe I was destined to be trapped in this cycle forever. The demon laughed, a chilling sound that reverberated through the void like broken glass. "Change? You think you can escape your nature? You think you can simply will away years of destruction?" It leaned closer still, its breath cold against my skin as it continued its assault on my spirit. "You are weak. You always have been. Your attempts at redemption are nothing but illusions." As despair threatened to overwhelm me once more, something deep within stirred, a flicker of resilience ignited by the very essence of hope that had begun to take root during my earlier encounter with light. In that moment of confrontation with darkness, I realized that while this demon represented everything wrong in my life, it also illuminated the path toward understanding myself more fully. "Perhaps I have been weak," I admitted aloud, surprising even myself with the admission. "But weakness does not define who I am, it is merely part of my journey." The shadows around me shifted slightly as if acknowledging this newfound clarity. "I have made mistakes, terrible ones, but they do not erase my capacity for growth." The demon recoiled slightly at my words, its form flickering as if uncertain how to respond. In that brief moment of hesitation, I seized upon it, drawing strength from within as I confronted not only the demon but also every fear that had held me captive for so long. "I refuse to let you dictate my worth," I declared firmly. "I will face my demons. not run from them. With those words resonating through the darkness, something remarkable began to happen. Light began to seep into the corners of this oppressive void. It wasn't blinding or overwhelming but rather gentle and inviting, a reminder that even amidst despair, hope could flourish if nurtured with courage and resolve. The demon's laughter faded into silence as it began to dissolve before me, its form losing substance against the encroaching light. "You may think you have one," it hissed one last time before fading into nothingness, leaving behind only echoes of its presence. A reminder that while darkness may always linger at the edges of our lives, it does not have to define us. As clarity returned and shadows receded into obscurity, I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation wash over me. A promise whispered softly in my heart: while battles against our inner demons may be fierce and unrelenting, they are also opportunities for growth and transformation if we dare to confront them head-on. In that moment suspended between light and dark, I understood something profound. True strength lies not in denying our weaknesses but in embracing them as part of our journey toward healing and redemption, a journey that had only just begun. As the last echoes of the demon's laughter faded into the shadows, a profound silence enveloped me, creating a space that felt both empty and full at once. I stood there, heart racing, surrounded by remnants of darkness that had threatened to consume me. Just when I thought I was lost in despair, a gentle light began to emerge from the depths of the void, a soft, warm glow that felt like a balm to my weary soul. It flickered at first, hesitant and shy, but gradually grew brighter, illuminating the darkness that had held me captive. As the light expanded, it took on a form, a figure that radiated peace and compassion. This being was unlike anything I had ever encountered. Its presence exuded warmth and understanding, wrapping around me like a comforting embrace. There were no harsh judgments or accusations here. Instead, I felt an overwhelming sense of acceptance and love. The figure approached slowly, its features becoming clearer with each passing moment. It was neither male nor female but rather an embodiment of pure light, an ethereal presence that seemed to transcend the very fabric of existence. "Do not be afraid," it spoke softly, its voice resonating within me like a soothing melody. "You are not alone in this struggle." The words washed over me like a gentle wave, calming the tumultuous storm of emotions raging inside. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt seen, not just for my mistakes or my weaknesses, but for who I truly was beneath all the layers of guilt and shame. "Why do you come to me now?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly as I tried to comprehend this unexpected encounter. "After everything I've done? After all the pain I've caused?" The figure smiled gently, a radiant expression that seemed to illuminate even the darkest corners of my heart. "I come to remind you of your worth," it replied. "Even in your moments of greatest despair, you are deserving of love and redemption." Those words struck a chord deep within me, resonating with a truth I had long buried beneath layers of self-loathing. I had spent so much time believing that my worth was tied to my failures, that I was defined by my addiction and the hurt I had caused others. But here was this luminous being, challenging everything I thought I knew about myself. "You are not your mistakes," it continued, its voice imbued with a gentle authority. "You are a tapestry woven from both light and shadow. Each thread contributes to your unique story." As I absorbed this message, something began to shift within me. The weight of guilt that had clung to my heart started to lift, as if the very act of acknowledging my worth allowed space for healing. "But how can I change?" I asked hesitantly, doubt creeping back into my mind like an unwelcome guest. "How can I become someone worthy after everything?" The figure stepped closer, its light enveloping me in warmth and safety. "Transformation begins with acceptance," it explained patiently. "Embrace your journey. Every twist and turn has led you here." In that moment, clarity struck me like lightning illuminating a dark sky. My path had been fraught with challenges and setbacks, but those experiences were not merely obstacles. They were lessons, opportunities for growth and understanding. Each mistake had shaped me into who I was today, and while they could not be erased, they could be reframed as stepping stones toward something greater. The figure gestured toward the remnants of darkness still lingering at the edges of my consciousness. "You have faced your demons," it said with encouragement in its voice. "Now it is time to embrace the light within you." As those words resonated through me, I felt an undeniable shift, a spark igniting deep within my soul that began to illuminate even the darkest corners of my being. "I want to change," I declared with newfound conviction, feeling empowered by this revelation. "I want to reclaim my life." The figure nodded approvingly, its expression one of unwavering support. Change is not instantaneous. It is a journey, a series of small steps taken with intention and courage. With each word spoken, I could feel the chains binding me to my past start to loosen. Hope blossomed within me like a flower breaking through concrete. What must I do? I asked earnestly, eager to embark on this transformative journey toward healing and redemption. The figure smiled again, its light shimmering with encouragement. Begin by forgiving yourself, it advised gently. Release the burdens you carry, they do not define you. As those words settled in my heart, tears filled my eyes. Tears not just of sorrow but also of relief, as if a dam had finally broken within me. I forgive myself, I whispered through trembling lips, feeling an overwhelming wave of emotion wash over me. A mixture of grief for lost time and gratitude for this moment of clarity. With each breath, it became easier to let go of the pain that had held me captive for so long. Next, the figure continued softly, reach out to those you have hurt. My heart sank slightly at the suggestion. Confronting those relationships would be daunting, but deep down, I knew it was necessary for true healing. It may be difficult, it acknowledged empathetically, but honesty can pave the way for reconciliation. As we stood together in this sacred space between light and dark, something remarkable began to happen. Hope transformed into determination, a fierce desire to take control of my life once more. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and moments when doubt crept back in like an unwelcome shadow. But armed with this newfound understanding of my worth and potential for change, I felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Thank you, I said earnestly as tears streamed down my cheeks. Tears that spoke volumes about years spent wrestling with inner demons but now reflected a glimmering hope for what was yet to come. With one last radiant smile filled with compassion and encouragement, the figure began to fade back into the light from which it came, its presence lingering like an echo in my heart. As it dissipated into nothingness, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace settle over me. A promise whispered softly in my soul. Transformation is possible if we dare to believe in ourselves. In that moment suspended between past regrets and future possibilities, clarity emerged amid confusion, a realization that while darkness may always linger at our edges, we possess within us an unyielding light capable of guiding us home if only we choose to embrace it wholeheartedly. And so began my journey toward redemption, not just as an escape from darkness but as an affirmation of life itself, a testament that even amidst struggle lies immense potential for growth and renewal if we dare to step boldly into our own light. As I opened my eyes to the world once more, the harsh light of reality flooded in, pulling me from the depths of my transformative experience. It felt as if I had been reborn, emerging from a cocoon of darkness into a realm filled with possibility. The weight that had pressed upon my chest for so long had lifted, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose that pulsed through my veins. I was determined to share what I had learned, to reach out to those I had pushed away in my darkest days and let them know that change was not only possible but essential. With a heart full of hope and trepidation, I reached out to my closest friends and family. I wanted them to understand the profound shift that had occurred within me during that surreal experience. I envisioned their faces lighting up with joy and relief as I recounted my journey through darkness into light. But as I began to share my story, the reactions were not what I had anticipated. Sitting across from my best friend at our favorite cafe, I poured out my heart, recounting every detail of my encounter with the demon and the radiant figure that had guided me toward redemption. I watched as her expression shifted from curiosity to skepticism. "That sounds intense," she said slowly, her brow furrowing in disbelief. "But do you really think it changes anything? You've struggled with this for so long." Her words struck me like a blow, and I felt the familiar sting of doubt creep back in. "I know it sounds unbelievable," I replied, trying to maintain my composure. But it felt so real. I felt this overwhelming sense of love and acceptance. It's like I've been given a second chance. Yet even as I spoke, I could see the uncertainty in her eyes, an unspoken question lingering between us. Was this just another fleeting moment of clarity that would fade with time? As our conversation continued, it became evident that she was not alone in her skepticism. My family reacted similarly when I shared my experience during a dinner gathering. Their faces wore expressions of concern rather than understanding. "You've been through so much," my mother said gently, her voice laced with worry. "We just want you to be safe and healthy. Maybe this is just a phase." Her words felt like a wall rising between us, blocking any attempt at genuine connection. Each attempt to share my story was met with disbelief or caution, creating an invisible chasm that widened with every interaction. Friends who once celebrated life's joys with me now seemed distant, their laughter replaced by awkward silences whenever the topic arose. The very people who had once been my support system now felt like strangers, their skepticism amplifying feelings of isolation that threatened to engulf me. I found myself grappling with an internal conflict that left me emotionally drained. On one hand, there was an undeniable urge to share this newfound perspective, a desire to help others see the light amidst their own struggles. On the other hand, each dismissive response chipped away at my confidence, leaving me questioning whether my experience held any real value or if it was merely a figment of my imagination. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of this isolation began to settle heavily on my shoulders. The vibrant colors of life dulled once more as I retreated into myself, my enthusiasm for change overshadowed by the fear of rejection. It was as if the darkness that had once held me captive was attempting to reclaim its hold over me, whispering insidious thoughts that echoed in my mind. Maybe they're right. Maybe you haven't changed at all. I sought solace in journaling, pouring out my thoughts onto pages filled with ink-stained confessions, a desperate attempt to make sense of the turmoil swirling within me. Each entry became a cathartic release, allowing me to confront the emotions I struggled to articulate aloud. Yet even as I wrote about hope and transformation, doubt lingered like an unwelcome guest at the back of my mind. In those quiet moments alone with my thoughts, I realized something profound. While sharing my experience was important, it was equally vital for me to first embrace this transformation within myself fully. The journey toward healing would not be defined by others' acceptance or understanding. It would be shaped by how deeply I could connect with my own truth. With renewed determination, I began focusing on small steps, practicing self-compassion and engaging in activities that brought joy back into my life. Instead of seeking validation from others, I turned inward, nurturing the light that had ignited during my experience. Slowly but surely, fragments of hope began to weave their way back into the fabric of my existence. I started attending support groups where individuals shared their own struggles openly, spaces where vulnerability was met with empathy rather than skepticism. In those circles filled with understanding hearts and open ears, I found solace. Here were people who recognized the weight of addiction and understood the complexities of recovery without judgment. As time passed and connections deepened within these newfound communities, something remarkable happened. Friends began reaching out again, tentative messages asking how I was doing or expressing concern over my absence from social gatherings. Their inquiries were genuine. They wanted to understand what had changed within me. With each conversation rekindled came an opportunity for healing, not just for them but for me as well. As we shared stories and experiences around tables filled with laughter and tears alike, barriers began to dissolve. Trust slowly rebuilt itself like a fragile bridge spanning a once great divide. Through this journey toward reconnection, both with myself and those around me, I learned an invaluable lesson. Transformation is not solely about personal growth. It is also about fostering relationships grounded in honesty and vulnerability. The path may be fraught with challenges along the way, moments when doubt creeps back in or when others struggle to grasp our experiences. But embracing our truth allows us not only to heal ourselves but also create space for others' healing journeys. And so began a new chapter, one where hope flourished amidst uncertainty, a testament that while isolation may threaten our spirits at times, connection has the power to illuminate even the darkest corners of our lives if we dare to reach out and embrace it wholeheartedly. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, I found myself standing at a crossroads, a pivotal moment in my life that demanded reflection and action. The journey I had embarked upon after my experience of near death had illuminated the path toward healing, yet it also revealed the stark reality of my past choices. I could no longer ignore the destructive behaviors that had once defined me. It was time to make a conscious decision to transform my life, to step away from the shadows and embrace a brighter future. With a newfound clarity, I began to envision what this transformation would look like. The first step was to confront my addiction head-on, not just as a personal battle, but as an opportunity to redefine my relationship with myself and others. I realized that the habits I had clung to for so long were not merely vices. They were barriers that prevented me from experiencing genuine connection and fulfillment. I made the choice to abandon those destructive patterns, understanding that true strength lay not in denial, but in embracing vulnerability. The decision to change was not easy. It required a deep commitment to self-discipline and honesty, but I felt an overwhelming sense of purpose propelling me forward. I began by establishing new routines, replacing late nights spent in bars with early mornings filled with exercise and mindfulness. Each day became an opportunity for growth as I sought out activities that nourished my spirit rather than drained it. I discovered a passion for running, finding solace in the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement and the fresh air filling my lungs. With every mile conquered, I felt a little more like the person I aspired to be. But transformation was not solely about personal growth. It also involved giving back to others who were navigating their own struggles. Inspired by the support groups that had welcomed me during my darkest moments, I decided to become actively involved in helping others find their way through similar challenges. I reached out to local organizations focused on addiction recovery and offered my time as a volunteer. It was there that I discovered the profound impact of shared experiences, the power of listening, understanding, and offering compassion to those who felt lost. I began facilitating support groups, creating safe spaces where individuals could come together to share their stories without fear of judgment. In those circles filled with vulnerability and authenticity, I witnessed firsthand the healing power of connection. Each person who walked through the door carried their own burdens, yet as we shared our journeys, our triumphs and setbacks alike, a sense of camaraderie blossomed among us. It was a reminder that none of us were alone in our struggles. Together we formed a tapestry woven from resilience and hope. As I led these groups, something remarkable happened. Not only did I help others navigate their paths toward recovery, but in doing so, I also deepened my own understanding of healing. Each story shared resonated within me, reminding me of my own journey, the battles fought and won, the lessons learned along the way. It became clear that transformation was not a destination but an ongoing process, a continuous cycle of growth where giving back enriched both my life and the lives of those around me. In moments of reflection, I often thought about how far I had come since that fateful night when everything changed. The darkness that had once threatened to consume me now felt like a distant memory, a reminder of what could happen if I allowed myself to slip back into old habits. Yet instead of fear, there was gratitude for the lessons learned. Each challenge faced had shaped me into someone stronger and more resilient. As I stood before my support group one evening, looking into the faces of those seeking hope and healing, a profound sense of fulfillment washed over me. "You are all capable of change," I said passionately, my voice steady with conviction. "No matter how far you've fallen or how lost you feel right now, there is always a way back to light." In that moment, it struck me how interconnected our journeys were, how each person's transformation rippled outward like waves in a pond, touching lives beyond our own. The narrative of recovery is often filled with ups and downs, a winding road marked by challenges and triumphs alike. But within that complexity lies an undeniable truth: hope is powerful. It has the ability to inspire change not only within ourselves, but also within our communities. By sharing our stories and supporting one another through adversity, we create spaces where healing can flourish. As time passed and relationships deepened within these newfound communities, I began to see how transformation extended far beyond individual journeys. It became a collective movement toward renewal, a testament that while darkness may always linger at our edges, we possess within us an unyielding light capable of guiding us home if only we choose to embrace it wholeheartedly. And so here I stand today, no longer defined by past mistakes or haunted by shadows, but rather illuminated by hope and resilience forged through struggle. My heart swells with gratitude for every step taken along this path. Each moment spent connecting with others has enriched my life immeasurably. As we gathered together one evening under soft candlelight, a circle formed by individuals united in purpose, I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging wash over me. In sharing our stories, we celebrated not just survival but thriving amidst adversity, a reminder that transformation is possible for each one of us if we dare to believe in ourselves. With every voice raised in affirmation and every tear shed in solidarity, we created something beautiful, a tapestry woven from threads of vulnerability interlaced with strength, a testament that even amidst struggle lies immense potential for growth and renewal if we dare to step boldly into our own light. And as we closed our meeting with hopeful hearts beating in unison, it became clear, this journey is not just about reclaiming our lives, it's about uplifting those around us, creating ripples of change that extend far beyond ourselves, illuminating paths for others still searching for their way home.